What's up, everybody? Welcome back to an impromptu episode of the 10-7 MMA show. And today we're doing a quick live stream because I just got to talk about everything that's been going on with UFC 303. And a lot of news has come out in the last 48 hours. So I'm going to just kind of like step us back a little bit to what was going down on Sunday and then sort of what has transpired since then. So obviously we had UFC 302, which in my opinion was awesome. The main event was amazing. And I was even a fan of the co-main. I know a lot of people booed or didn't really like it, but I thought it was great. And then eagerly anticipating the presser on June 3rd in Dublin. Now, I was actually trying to figure out the times for it. I couldn't figure it out. I didn't know if it was happening in the evening or during the daytime. That would have been evening Dublin, daytime in the US. I was looking for it, never ended up finding it. Then Monday morning, I checked the news and found out on the MMA Hour that the presser was canceled. So this was quite alarming for a lot of folks. We were wondering why it was canceled, what was going on. Now, Ariel Helwani on the MMA Hour made a statement claiming that, look, nothing nefarious is going on. There's no issues. I think he was basically saying, look, there's no foul play. There's no funny business. There's nothing that we should be truly concerned about in terms of the fight. The press conference didn't happen for some particular reasons. He wasn't at liberty to say why. And that was it. We were left to speculate. So people were saying, okay, feeling fairly comfortable that the fight was probably still happening. At least that's how I felt on Monday. We talked a little bit on our show yesterday that UFC 303, the main event, was still on. And really, this card is truly all about the main event. And that's the issue, right? This entire fight card with the largest gate of all time is pretty much hinging kind of solely on Conor McGregor fighting Michael Chandler. So it's quite a disappointment to people who have purchased those tickets, which are extremely expensive. And for all the fight fans that were just getting ready for UFC 303, we were so excited. It's a major letdown that this may in fact not be happening. But here's the deal. The UFC has not made any official announcements yet as to whether or not this fight is truly canceled and they're moving on. So what we're going to talk about today is I want to go through some of the episodes and podcasts and videos that I've been listening to in the last 48 hours, specifically 24 hours, that have been now further speculating that the presser being canceled is an indication of something worse that likely does put the fight in jeopardy. And as we wrap all this up, I think you're going to agree with me that it does seem as though the fight is off, which is devastating for UFC fans. I know a lot of people, hey, don't really think about Conor that much, or they claim not to. I think that's almost sometimes people are trying to prove what a non-casual they are, what a hardcore fan they are. I consider myself a pretty hardcore fan. I don't know, people might disagree or agree based on my knowledge base, but I love the sport more than anything. It's the only sport that, well, not more than anything, I guess, right? But as far as sports go and things like that, I love this. I don't care about any other sports. I love this sport. It's so interesting to me and so fascinating. I have so much respect for the fighters. So I do love the sport, and whatever you want to say, Conor is darn exciting. I mean, I cannot wait to see him come back because it's going to answer all the questions that are unanswered. Is he going to come back from this devastating injury to still be a competitive fighter? Has he still been training? Has he been improving? Can he still compete with the best of the best? Can he still take on somebody like Michael Chandler? Can he get one more title run? I mean, and if he does, what a ride it will be. It will be fantastic. It will be amazing. So I don't care who you are. I don't care if you are considering yourself such a hardcore that Conor is now irrelevant to you, or so you claim, but man, I guarantee if you're a fan of the sport, you are gonna watch this final go around for Conor, which I do think this is going to be his last shot if he wins this fight to go on get one more title shot, I think. So that's why there was a lot of anticipation. That's why the gate sold out. People care. People are amped up. So we're gonna first go over to the Weighing In podcast. I saw this last night. And again, this didn't particularly concern me in and of itself. Okay, he's talking about what he's heard through his sources. This is Josh Thompson, former UFC fighter. So let's hear what he has to say.
The couple of sources that I've heard from was that he's dealing with a little bit of an injury, Conor is, and so that that he should be good to go for the fight time. But if he is dealing with the injury, that they didn't want him visually being seen at the press conference, so they didn't want to expose that. I don't know whether he was in a walking boot, I don't know what it is. I'm simply saying that I heard that he's dealing with a little bit of an injury. So
could it be? Hold on, and seriously, I'm being serious when I say this. Could it be that somehow in training he got cut?
Possibly.
And he doesn't want Chandler to see where that cut's at.
I mean, well, really, if you got cut, it's probably on the face, I would imagine, right? And Chandler's going to be headhunting all day long. That's what he does. So, I mean, I don't understand. Look, I got cut. It is what it is. nothing's going to change. And I've heard he's supposed to still be ready to fight on the same day. That's one take that I've gotten in the last.
That's not the take.
Yeah, see, John, I think you and I are on the same page on the second take. And it's funny, we didn't talk about this beforehand. My take, my second take is from somebody else, and they said that he's actually going to try to extend the camp. He wants more time. He's trying to push this off until, later. Now, I don't know how much later, but he says, what I've been told, he still wants this fight. He's not backing out. He's not pulling out. But apparently it's very difficult to get off of the booze and the drugs, and go out there and still fight.
All right, so that's the first take, right? We have this take from Josh Thompson. Apparently, he has some inside sources, and he's claiming that either Conor's dealing with an injury and didn't want it to be visibly seen by Chandler at the presser. Which, if that's the case, that's our best case scenario, right? That this is just a strategic play. Avoid the press conference, give him more time to heal, and be ready for 303. The other more worrisome outcome is that, hey, he does want more time. He's trying to push back the fight to maybe deal with this injury or deal with some of these other things, get into training camp, get a little bit more in the flow, and increase his odds of winning. Now we're going to go to some other takes, and this is likely going to support the latter theory, unfortunately, that he is injured, and because of that injury, he now wants to push back or delay the fight, meaning UFC 303 is likely in jeopardy. So let's now turn over to Jesse on Fire, our buddy, with some really good takes here. So let's check this out.
And then people started sending me some articles and some things that looked very concerning. As an example, right? As an example, I think I'm pretty sure this was one that I got right here. ESPN has removed ads on their website and cable TV for Conor McGregor's return at UFC 303 versus Michael Chandler. Not good. Not good at all. Right? Now, it's important to consider that Conor McGregor in his entire career has never once pulled out of a fight, ever. Not once. Never pulled out of a fight. He has never pulled out of a fight, and he also has never postponed a fight. That said, he's never done anything like this either. And also, in addition to what we just talked about in terms of the ads coming down, the Nate Diaz fights that were made public by the UFC as promotional material on YouTube for this coming fight have now been made private also. This is all bad. And then yesterday, McGregor canceled a huge press conference in Ireland with speculation overnight of bad news for the promotion and fans. Not good at all.
All right. Well, so there you have it. So this is another data point, right? So we're seeing these different things being canceled, these ad campaigns being halted. Why would they be halted? I mean, we're 3.5 weeks away from the tentative date, June 29th, International Fight Week. So this has got to be bad. This has got to be bad. Okay, now we're going to one final video that is once again going to support this theory that the fight is indeed off. All right, here we go.
For unknown reasons, and the UFC is allegedly trying to move the date. However, today, there are more clues that suggest the fight may be off. So if you search UFC 303 on ESPN Plus's website, you can no longer pre-purchase the pay-per-view. Here's what happens now when you try to buy the pay-per-view. Also, you guys know how the UFC posts free fights leading up to pay-per-views? They posted Conor McGregor versus Nate Diaz 2 and Conor versus Eddie Alvarez. Both have since been privated. Dana White has been silent on this whole situation. However, multiple fighters have come out and said that this is worrisome. Daniel Cormier said, to me, it feels like this is a big deal. I have reached out to many in the organization to try to find out what happened. And when everybody's tight-lipped as they are right now, to me, that tells me it's a little worrisome. Chael Sonnen said, I can't imagine that if everything was good, he wouldn't have let them know a little bit sooner. Hey, man, you guys cancel these flights. Let's let people know we're not doing this. I don't know for a fact. We're all guessing. On X, Hanato Moicano wrote, if you ask me, I think McGregor's foot is broken. Put me against Chandler.
All right, Hanato Moicano trying to get in there and get in that fight. All right, look. The bottom line is this. We have all these data points. I think the most convincing data points are the fact that the fights were, those free fights were pulled offline, right? Those are typical promotional videos that are released leading up to a fight. Why were they pulled? Why are they now made private? Because I think that they're reducing the promotional efforts. Also, now you can't pre-purchase the fight. That's also a problem because if I'm correct on this, I believe that when you purchase tickets to a fight, if the main event, give me 1 second. My little dog is going bonkers. Hold on. Come here, baby. Come here, Thompson. Don't do that. Hold on. All right. Sorry. He's crying. So if you purchase tickets to a fight and the main event is canceled, you are owed a refund in Las Vegas, or that I believe that is Nevada law. So they're probably pulling the pre-sales for the pay-per-view buys. I assume the same law applies, is my assumption. So they want to avoid any and all refunds. They're trying to wait until to put it back on sale until this main event gets finalized. So those are the data points that are most important to me. I mean, yes, the presser was canceled. Yes, Josh Thompson saying he heard from inside sources there's an injury, but an injury you may be able to recover from that, right, within that time frame. So we don't know, but these other data points I think are very, very worrisome. Okay, so sad, very, very sad to say, as I did that entire video earlier talking about what if Conor can win this fight? What could it mean? What could it mean for his legacy? What are all the things that could, playing the what if game, which is really fun to do, right, in the sport of mixed martial arts? What if he wins the next fight and the next fight and establishes this amazing career? And we all get behind him. It unites the entire fan base of mixed martial arts and the UFC. I mean, it's a lot of fun to play that what if game, but sadly, it seems like this is just not the time, and it's just so disappointing. We've been waiting so long to see Conor McGregor's return. I just hope he eventually is still able to return, and it seems like he still wants to fight, according to most of these folks. So hopefully this fight will still happen. It just may be pushed down the line. Who knows? Maybe to Mexican Independence Day and maybe to the Sphere. But in the short term, what are we left asking? We are left asking, what are we going to do for International Fight Week? This is meant to be a huge card. That's why they had Conor on it. International Fight Week, right? June 29th. So now I want to talk about what are our options if indeed this fight is off. Okay. So we're going to go through some of the options that I've heard from other folks, and we're also going to talk about some options that I haven't heard other folks talk about that I think could slide in and could really save the day. I mean, it's never going to save it to the same extent. There's one fight on here, though, that I think could be pretty epic, and I think people will be very excited about if they can make it happen. All right, so the first one that I heard actually Jesse on Fire talk about is you keep Chandler on the card and you slide in Max Holloway for the BMF belt. Now, this could be kind of interesting for the following reason. Obviously, Holloway is probably the second hottest fighter right now in the entire organization of the UFC after that incredible win over Justin Gaethje. So I can see that throwing Holloway in could still get a lot of fanfare, could still get a big gate, could still get a big buzz for International Fight Week. Maybe they wouldn't have to refund as many tickets. I don't know exactly how that's going to work, but I could see this being a possibility. The other reason why this makes a lot of sense is the winner of this fight could then fight Conor McGregor for the BMF belt. Now we got Conor in a title fight. It's going to be that much more exciting, that much more interesting. And that's the belt that he's never had that belt, right? He's already had 2 official UFC belts for featherweight and lightweight. He's never had the BMF belt. He wants the BMF belt. That's an interesting play. And that's one that I think Chandler might actually accept. And of course, he can probably negotiate for a pretty hefty payday to save this card. So this is option number 1. I'm excited about it. I think it could be cool. Obviously, I'd love to see Max Holloway come back and fight. Still, it's a bit of a disappointment not to have Conor. Now I'm going to give you, the number 2 is a fight that's more exciting for me. I don't know if everybody feels the same way about this fight, but I cannot wait for the Khamzat versus Whitaker fight. Now, this fight is scheduled in the previous week, June 22nd. So the guys are already in training camp. Basically, you give them one more week of training camp and reschedule the fight for this fight to be the main event of International Fight Week. I think this would get a lot of buzz. I think this would be an incredible fight, and it's a what's it called, next contender bout. So we're going to see whoever wins this will likely be in line for a title shot. We could argue that Sean Strickland might be next in line, but I think it's fair to say if Khamzat wins, especially, he's going in there and he's going to get the winner of Dricus versus Izzy. This is a possibility. The problem with this as the main fight is the rumors that Khamzat cannot get into the U.S., that he's continuing to have visa issues. So if that is the case, I don't think this will be possible. But to me, outside of Max Holloway and Conor McGregor, the only other fighter that has that same draw and that same power in this realm, in my opinion, would be Khamzat. Okay, moving on to option number 3 here. Okay, this is the one. This is the one that I think this could actually work. Okay, so Ian Gary is on the card right now fighting Michael Venom Page. Hold on, let me just double check. I'm not mixing that up with the Manchester card, but I'm pretty sure Ian Gary is fighting Michael Venom Page. Let me double check here. They are fighting, 303. So Ian Gary is already scheduled to fight Michael Venom Page, and that is a great fight. Don't get me wrong. Could you make that main event and replace Conor and Chandler? I don't think so. I don't think I mean, it's a dope fight, amazing fight. It's going to be very interesting stylistically, but I don't think it has the oomph to really replace that. But if you can somehow convince Colby Covington to take this fight, which he clearly seems like he doesn't want, I think my assessment is that he feels as though this is just a really bad matchup and he's likely going to lose. And I don't think he wants to take that fight as a result, because maybe he's probably done the calculations. He's probably talked it over with his team. It's probably a bad matchup, right? So, sorry, I'm just grabbing this little guy. So I think that this is going to be very difficult to negotiate and get locked in. But if they can do it, if they can pay Colby enough money, this is the fight, and this would be an unbelievable presser. This would be everything. This would be incredible. And people hate Colby right now. So this is one of those things they hate. A lot of people hate Ian Gary too, but I think people hate Colby more. So that's going to be huge for Ian Gary if he can pull off the win. I think it's going to give him a resurgence with his fans, a resurgence in the MMA community, and it would be unbelievable smack talking back and forth. Incredible. I think this is the closest to saving the card as possible. If they can make this happen somehow by some miracle, I would still be super psyched for UFC 303. I mean, I would be so happy. Okay. So this is option 3, and then we go to option 4. Not as cool as option 3, but let's go to option 4. We can throw in Pereira, right? Pereira versus Ankalaev. Not, I think, a super exciting fight, but I think it's one that's going to be next for Pereira anyways. Next title contender has to be Magomed Ankalaev, I'm pretty sure. I mean, you could argue some other folks, but that would make sense. They could slide that in. People love Alex Pereira. I just don't think it's going to have, again, that same wow factor I think that we were anticipating. I just think Colby, I got to go back. I just think Colby versus Ian Gary, that's the one. If they can make that happen, Ian's already on the card. Like I said, just convince Colby to just do this. Just pay him enough where it makes sense. He could headline international fight. It would be huge. It'd be incredible. Anyways, those are my 2 cents. Man, oh man. Yeah, I think I'm reeling and just super disappointed, as is the rest of the mixed martial arts community and fan base. So it is what it is. Let's hope that I'm wrong. Let's hope that it's just not possible. It's the fight's going to be off. There's no way that you have all of these different things happening at once. The probability is basically goes to 0 with all these confounding, with all these, all these different actions and activities being undertaken by the UFC that all line up. The probabilities it's impossible, that joint probability. So yeah, it's probably off, and wish Conor a speedy recovery. Let's see what happens. Ian Gary versus Colby Covington. Let's pray. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for joining. If you like this video, make sure to click that like button. If you want to see more from the 10-7 MMA show, make sure to click subscribe. Thank you guys so much for joining. I'll see you in the next video. Take it easy.